Our story begins soon after the release of Muppets from Space. The reviews for this film and the box office numbers were so atrociously bad that Sony canceled all future Muppet projects. Obviously, this isn't good for the Henson Company since numerous scripts were circulating and now didn't have any backing behind it. These scripts would never be made. In fact, another theatrically released Muppet movie wouldn't be made for another 12 years. However, around 1999, 2 scripts were almost ready to be made.
Hey you, do you live in Disney World?
Nope.
Exactly. Do you wish you lived in Disney World?
No, not really.
Well, that doesn't matter. This video is brought to you by Magic Candle Company. I love these scents. I have these candles burning all the time in my office while I'm making these videos and writing these scripts. I've been a customer of Magic Candle Company for a long time. My favorite scent is probably Flying Over Africa. They are so authentic and smell exactly like the actual attraction. It's insane. I personally recommend going to magiccandlecompany.com and getting one of their bundles because you get 4 of their magical fragrances, either the candle bundles or the fragrance oil bundles. I personally love, and I know you will love them too. And check this out, I have a deal for you. If you buy any product, you can get 15% off if you use my code BigBeautifulDiz15 for 15% off your order. Just put it in the discount code. It'll work. You can save some money. And yeah, thank you so much to Magic Candle Company for sponsoring this video. Again, BigBeautifulDiz15. Go to magiccandlecompany.com. Thank you, and back to the video.
These 2 scripts were Muppet Time Travel, also known at one point as Muppets Time Machine. The script was written by John Deverlani. The plot revolved around Animal accidentally using a time machine and going back to the Stone Age. After he becomes evolution's missing link, he returns to a world of humans who look like Animal. With the help of a character named Postman Joe, Kermit and the rest of the Muppets go back in time to fix things. The other script was The Muppets' Haunted House, also known as The Muppets' Haunted Hotel or Muppet Haunted Movie. A script written by Dan Milano was written in 1998. Joey Mazzarino was also writing a script based on the same concept. In 2004, the concept was again in development. A script was being written by Kurt Thatcher and Jim Lewis. Despite being in development for most of the 90s and again in 2004, this film was never made. Another script was called The Next Muppet Movie or When Muppets Attack. That was a script that was sold to Jim Henson Company in 1999 and written by Brian Lynch. The script was liked and the movie was put on the slate for production after Muppets Haunted Hotel. Of course, the slate was wiped after Sony pulled the funding for future Muppet features. As the calendar crossed into the new millennium in 2000, the Jim Henson Company had no plans for the new Muppet features. This would also be the case in 2001. But the company would make 2 made-for-TV movies, the first being Kermit Swamp Years. Filming for the movie began in October 2001. The movie was shot in Winter Garden and Naples, Florida. The soundstage shots were filmed at Disney MGM Studios. The other TV movie was It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie. This movie was shot sometime in mid-2001. It's very important to note that it was filmed before September 2001. Kermit Swamp Years focuses on Kermit the Frog's childhood. Kermit grew up on a swamp. Obviously, in the Muppet movie, it opens with Kermit in the swamp, but we never see any of his swamp friends or what his life was like before the formation of the Muppets. Quote, "Everything that you'll see actually happened to me," Kermit said in an interview. This movie, canonically, is technically a biopic because in the Muppets universe, they are all famous actors. The movie takes place when Kermit is 12 years old, and his best friends are Goggles and Croaker. It is brought up that Kermit was once a tadpole, which makes me question his whole life, because if he was a tadpole for a few months, then how is he 12? Wild frogs have a lifespan of only 10 years. Kermit and his friends venture out in the world outside of the swamp where they encounter a pet store. This is the main issue with doing a prequel about Kermit. We know what's going to happen on this adventure. He's going to end up back in the swamp, because he has to for the Muppet movie to make any sort of sense. So, the story essentially becomes, how does Kermit get back to the swamp? Because we know that's going to happen. The fact that the title is also called Kermit Swamp Years, yet the majority of the movie takes place outside of the swamp, boggles my mind. This is a minor issue with all prequels. Obviously, you know what's going to happen at the end of the film. It has to set up the events of whatever comes next in the already existing franchise, so you know what's going to happen. The reason why this works with, like, Star Wars is because there's 3 movies to explore Anakin's story, not just one. The Star Wars prequels' writing is also what makes those movies flawed. Not so much the concept of just doing a prequel in the first place. And why this is different, what makes the Star Wars prequels different, is they didn't have 82 minutes to set up future events. Kermit Swamp Years has nothing of interest to show because it has so little time to do anything before Kermit has to end up back at the swamp. Swamp Years was planned to be a series, with young Kermit being in multiple prequels before the Muppet movie, but these also would have run into the same issue. It also didn't help that when Swamp Years debuted on Starz on August 18th, 2002, people hated it. And the idea of doing more Muppet prequels were immediately canceled. Kermit Swamp Years is genuinely on the list of top 5 hated movies for me. So, let's have actually no fun at all and watch this monstrosity of a film.
Alright, it's finally over. That was pretty excruciating, honestly, to get through. Just getting down to it, this movie is awful. By no means watch this. Like I said, this is genuinely in my top 5 of most hated movies. I was dreading watching this, and as bad as I remember it being when I was a kid watching it, it's worse. It's worse than I remember somehow. It's boring. I can barely remember what even happened. Really nothing happens of note, because like I said, the problem with the movie is that you start in the swamp, you have to end in the swamp. No major adventure can happen, because at the end of the day, Kermit can't leave the swamp because of the events of the Muppet movie. So you can't have a major adventure happen besides, like, there was a cool scene or moment where, like, a young Jim Henson, like, helps Kermit, because in, like, the Muppet universe, Jim Henson and Kermit are canonically friends. So that was kind of cool. And then there was also a cool moment where Kermit discovers a movie and realizes, like, that's what he wants to do with his life. So, like, that was okay. But it's never explained why Kermit wants to leave the swamp in the first place in the beginning. We aren't really ever properly introduced to the other characters. The other characters have no sort of characterization at all. We really don't know anything about them. Really don't know anything really about Kermit, besides he has a ton of brothers and or a ton of, I shouldn't even say brothers, a ton of siblings. We see his mom for like 1 second. We don't really see his dad. We don't know anything about his parents. So everything it set out to even explain about Kermit's backstory, it didn't even achieve that. We're introduced, there's 2 plots going on at the same time that equally don't make any sense. We're introduced to this villain of sorts, and as we know, Muppet movies can't write villains well. So the first villain is revealed to be this high school teacher, which, like, he's a complete madman. I don't understand how he
functions as a human, let alone is allowed to be a high school teacher. And then the other sort of villain is this pet shop owner who really isn't a villain, and he's just kind of there, but like in reality he's a pet shop owner, so he's not really that bad of a guy. It's just in the eyes of the pets, I guess he kind of is, but at the same time not really. So just everything about this movie is just so awful and so atrocious in so many ways. The writing is cartoonishly bad. It's so bad to the point that the things that humans say in this movie would just never be said by an actual living, breathing human. It's just, God, it's horrible. It is really horrible. So what happens in the movie is that I can't even remember his name. God, this is, jeez. I honestly I can't remember his name. The one Kermit's one friend and a bullfrog gets taken to this pet store, and then Kermit and Croaker have to venture to the pet store to find them and help them, and then like towards the end the frogs are taken to a high school to be dissected. It's not revealed until like 10 minutes left in the movie that the character that we've known throughout this entire film, what his actual motivations are and who he is. So that's a great way to write a character, is just to not make him anything until the last couple minutes of the movie and explain like who he is, you know? Like that's a fantastic idea, because we don't care about this guy. We don't care about anything that's happening in the film because it's just so awful and so unbelievable because of the way that the movie is written, and the dialogue writing is just so bad in this that it's just laughable. It's honestly laughable. The dialogue writing in this. Humans would not talk this way. Humans would not speak in such a way. It's like they're cartoon characters on the screen, but they're played by real people, and they're played off as if they're real humans. It doesn't, God, it's so bad. It's so bad. And I also watched it with somebody that generally likes movies, doesn't go on a rant very often, is kind of, you know, is not as critical as I am. And even she was like, this is not very good. And like, I'm sorry I wanted to watch this with you, to be honest. And like, I don't blame her. I was surprised that she wanted to watch it with me too, because like, hey, at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to watch Kermit Swamp Years, especially by myself, but voluntarily, I wouldn't want to watch Kermit Swamp Years, you know? Also, I had to like, you have to go out of your way to watch Kermit Swamp Years, because it's on Prime Video and it's on Apple TV Plus for an additional $12. There's no way in hell I would ever pay $12 to watch this movie. I had to go on Internet Archives and watch a VHS cam rip, or not a cam rip, but a VHS rip on here. So never watch this movie. It's awful. It's easily the worst Muppet movie. It's technically a made for TV movie, but it's still awful. It's genuinely one of the worst films I've ever seen in my entire life. And there's really no redeeming qualities about it. And the reason this is so quick is because I genuinely do not remember most of the fine details about it. And I really do not have anything good to say about it. It infuriates me that this exists. It infuriates me that this was even written to begin with, but then the executives decided it was such a good idea to be made, and it infuriates me that a prequel was even brought up for Kermit, and this is what they did with it, because again, you know what's gonna happen. You have the movie spoiled for you as soon as you read the title. You have the movie spoiled for you when you read Swamp Years, because you know this is going to start and end in the swamp. It can't end anywhere else. So the adventure is somehow going, from point A to point B, nothing is going to happen of note in this film because it has to end in the swamp. At least in other prequels, stuff can happen in between it, but you know what's going to happen eventually at the end of the film. This, nothing of note can happen. There's no story to be told because he's just staying in the swamp. It happens before he meets the Muppets. So no story of interest can happen because this is his life before nothing ever happened. And there's also one point in this film where Kermit says he's 12 years old, and he also notes that this is just as he grew legs and was not a tadpole. Tadpoles, by the way, frogs grow from tadpoles to frogs in a matter of months, not years. So how is he 12 years of age just now becoming a frog? Makes no sense. He's 12 years old. He's almost a teenager, not just growing legs out of tadpole years. So, Jim Henson Productions, do a little bit of research while you're writing this film. Put a little bit of effort into this film, and maybe it would be a good film, but you didn't do that in 2001. You didn't make any effort to make this a good quality film. And because of that, why should I care as an audience about it? And I don't. And I'm never going to watch this movie again, and you shouldn't either. Let's go on a very Merry Muppet Christmas, and maybe you'll have a better time than watching this piece of shit.
Later in 2002, the Muppets starred in another Christmas movie. This one, titled It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie. The movie was directed by Kurt Thatcher and written by Jim Lewis and Tom Martin. The movie was made for TV and would air originally on NBC. The movie is also owned by NBC Universal. Filming for Very Merry took place in Vancouver, Canada. Shooting began on July 24th, 2002 and ended in August 2002. An extremely fast production for a Muppet movie. During production, Muppeteer Jerry Nelson was in poor health and wasn't able to perform his characters. Other Muppet performers subbed for his absence. Jerry Nelson was able to dub his lines in post-production. The movie's plot revolves around the Muppet Theater going through financial hardship. This worries Kermit, and he starts to be very upset and kind of depressed. During a Christmas show that the Muppets are putting on, a real estate agent tells Kermit that the Muppet Theater will close if Kermit doesn't pay. The movie then becomes a parody of It's a Wonderful Life when an angel arrives to help Kermit. Kermit wishes that he was never born. The angel then shows Kermit the world if he was never born. The Muppet Theater would be a shopping mall with a nightclub and a fast food restaurant. Most notably, during this scene, there's a shot where it shows Miss Piggy's apartment in New York City. The interesting thing about this shot is that the World Trade Center is very visible in the window, and this movie came out in 2002, and is of course taking place in an alternate reality where Kermit wasn't born. So this in fact does imply that Kermit had something to do with the horrific attacks on the Twin Towers in 2001. You might think, well, maybe the tragedy didn't take place in the Muppet universe. Also, the problem with that is that the Twin Towers have been in Muppet productions before. They were removed in the background of a Sesame Street episode after September 2001. And there's an episode of Sesame Street that was made in response to the attacks. And in Muppets Take Manhattan, for some reason, the filmmakers went out of their way to make sure that the towers were not in a single shot of that movie. Very strangely. So the evidence is all there, black and white, clear as crystal. Somehow, if Kermit wasn't born, the towers are still standing. When he is born, the towers are gone. Somehow Kermit the Frog's existence is vital information to the Twin Towers' fate. After Kermit and the Angel return to the correct reality, where the Muppet Theater is turned into a historical landmark and unable to be destroyed. Obviously, this plot is very similar to the Muppets 2011, which brings into question, if the Muppet Theater is turned into a historical landmark, then why is it in trouble in that movie? Well, the Muppet canon is a mess, but all of the Muppet characters are actors, and all of the movies that they are in are also movies in the Muppet universe, making Kermit and his friends movie stars. So, It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie is just a movie, and the Muppet Theater isn't the same one as in Muppets 2011 or even The Muppet Show. Then this also brings up the question about the Twin Towers again, because it is just a movie after all. Why would they not go in and digitally replace the towers in Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie? Maybe because it didn't take place in the Muppet, but we know that it did take place in the Muppet universe, so that can't be it. I don't know why they're in this movie. I really don't. It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie aired on NBC on November 29th, 2002. Now, for the second time in this video, let's sit down and watch this movie, and hopefully it's better than the absolute embarrassment that is Swamp Years.
Alright, I just finished It's Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie. And this one was better than Swamp Years, obviously. Swamp Years, it would be hard to make a movie worse than Swamp Years. It's almost not possible, actually. Both of these movies, though, are very, very short, thank God, because Swamp Years is unbearable to watch. But this review is about the Christmas movie. So, to be honest with you, I think this is the most mediocre Muppet movie, and one of the most mediocre movies I've ever seen in my life. It was not bad per se, but it wasn't also great or amazing in any way. I think that it didn't really necessarily need to be made, considering the fact that the Muppets already have a perfect Christmas movie, and one of the greatest Christmas movies ever made already in their catalog with Christmas Carol. This one was you could tell that it's cheaply made. It kind of keeps reminding us what's happening on the screen even though we're watching it. There's unnecessary I don't really want to call them even B plots. There's one scene where Fozzie goes out to give the money to the bank or something, and like a series of things happens that don't really lead anywhere, that are just jokes for some reason. Joe Rogan is in this at one point. There's a shit ton of celebrities actually in this one. And there's also a ton of celebrities in the Muppets 2011 and Most Wanted. It's not... but this was also something in Muppets from Space too. It's not annoying. Do they need to be in there? No, but they're also kind of... Well, I mean, in Muppets 2011, it's played off as a joke. It's played off perfectly. In this one, it's played kind of straight, and there are like actual characters in the movie. So, I don't know. I could have done without it, because they also just kind of added unnecessary filler to the scenes. This was a good villain. I do have to give them that this was an okay villain. Her motives made sense. She was kind of well written, I guess. So I have to give it to him. It was an okay villain. Something that's very rare. This is, of course, the movie that has the nightclub in it, where Scooter is a dancer, and that is something I did not need to see. Absolutely not. This whole movie is pretty much a parody of It's a Wonderful Life. And It's a Wonderful Life, of course, is one of the greatest movies ever made. Great story with it. I just feel like this whole movie was kind of unnecessary, because you don't need to be parodying It's a Wonderful Life. It's something that you don't need to be making a joke or a comedy, like a comedy bit out of it, because it's not a funny movie. It's actually a very serious subject that is in that film. And also, Kermit is very out of character in this one. I really did not like what they did with this character. I felt like it was not... I did not feel like it was right for Kermit. I also didn't feel like this would be something that Kermit would do in this situation, given that he is also kind of faced with the same kind of challenge in Muppets 2011. and he handles it a lot better in that one, and he does not wish that he was never born in that one. So yeah, pretty much an angel comes down in like the middle of the movie. That's the other weird thing. The whole like It's a Wonderful Life thing doesn't happen until like an hour into the film, which is kind of strange. This angel is just hanging out with Whoopi Goldberg and watching the film essentially unfold. And then once they finally do, they kind of see what would happen if Kermit never was born and all of his friends are in kind of bad situations. You also see the Twin Towers in Miss Piggy's apartment window. There's the whole thing about the fact that if Kermit is never born, this was made in 2002. This was technically filmed before September 11th, but still, it's the fact that it was even in there and not taken out. So it's kind of like, is Kermit the reason that the tragedy happened on that day? And like, you know, you can kind of pinpoint it actually to Kermit specifically in that moment. Because look, the fact is that in that scene, he is never born. The Twin Towers are still there, right? And when he is born, the whole Sesame Street episode and the whole thing happens essentially, right? So somewhere inadvertently he caused that to happen, and it's just plain black and white right there. So I mean, you can't really argue much of it. The only thing you can really argue is the fact that this movie isn't canon. Why then in the alternate reality where Kermit isn't born, then all of a sudden that changes, you know what I mean? So it's not so much the Muppet canon, it's the canon of that actual movie. Where the canon of that actual movie, Twin Towers are still there if Kermit isn't born. So, and they're not there, not in the rest of any other scenes. You know, is that coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so. Extremely long title too. What were they thinking with this title? It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas movie. Are you kidding me? I have to search that whenever I want to watch it. But the things I did like about it, there's some music in it. This is a time where the Muppet movies didn't know if they really wanted to be musicals or not, which is very strange to me considering that like the most successful movies that they have in their entire catalog, they are musicals. So I like that the musical aspect kind of came back. I like the Doc Hopper's reference in the alternate universe. I like that Kermit he's kind of shown that like he does matter and that he brought all these people together, all these wonderful people together. I like that. I like Kermit glazing in this movie a little bit. You know what I mean? Kermit doesn't get glazed very often. In this one, he does. So I'm happy for him. You know what I mean? He gets the recognition that he deserves. Because he's a great frog. But yeah, there's some funny bits in it. So again, not horrible, but not spectacular either. It's kind of boring, you know. Would I watch it again? Probably not. If I'm gonna watch either Christmas Carol or this one, I'm choosing Christmas Carol every time. Nice palate cleanser after the horrors that I experienced watching Swamp Years. Next video I've already seen the movie. I've seen the movie before. I haven't watched it yet for the video, but I've seen it before. The next movie is another atrocious film, just being honest. It is Muppets Wizard of Oz. So, buckle up for that one.
The next Muppet movie would be another made-for-TV movie, but this time it was made with the help of another major studio. This time, the Muppets had a new home, and one that would make Jim Henson himself extremely proud of and very happy. Disney was about to come back into the picture, and this time, they wouldn't let the Muppets be sold to another company.